I realized like I'm the bottleneck in all these different things in my company, and like realizing that I'm like holding everybody else back because of my natural, almost controlling nature.
That's Carmine White, CEO of Adrian's Housekeeping, describing the realization that unlocked his ability to scale his business from just $50,000 in revenue its first year to what today is a thriving company with $5 million in annual revenue and 90% customer retention. The secret wasn't just hard work or market opportunity. It was learning to evolve from scrappy startup founder to a systems-driven CEO, and recognizing that sustainable growth requires building teams that can succeed without you. I'm your host, Aaron Burnett, and this is Carmine's story on Moments That Matter from EO Seattle. So I was looking at your professional history. You have had quite the entrepreneurial journey.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit of that story.
I guess it started when we moved to Las Vegas when I was a teenager. I went to school for civil engineering, went to community college where I was able to do part-time of high school and college with that at the same time.
Yeah.
Right after high school, I started working for Nevada Power in Las Vegas. And I just got really, I read a book that changed my life called Rich Dad Poor Dad that like set me on this trajectory of entrepreneurship. And then I just started I was always a voracious reader, but like I just started consuming entrepreneur content, and I really wanted to go off and start my own business. So I dabbled with a couple of little things, around then, like in my early 20s. And I ended up doing a real estate deal. I started buying real estate. I ended up doing this commercial real estate deal that was kind of like a 6-figure windfall. And that let me quit my job and go out and pursue something. And so,
How old were you?
when I did that deal, I was like 23.
Wow. That's not what I was doing when I was 23.
Yeah. Well, I was scrambling around. I kind of got lucky. That's a totally different story, but like I kind of got lucky with this deal.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try all these different things. And what I ended up doing is getting into sales. So I started in Las Vegas. The pool industry was a huge industry for us. And my friend was just launching a pool business. And so I jumped off and joined him with that. I didn't have any ownership with it, but I kind of tried to take this as like a lesson for me to be on my own and, not have a salary to fall back on. So we started selling a ton of pools in Las Vegas. I mean, our average pool price is like 130,000. We were doing like these really great projects. I was making so much money. I felt like I was on top of the world. I was in my early 20s. My wife and I got married when I was 24.
Yeah.
It went really well right up until 2008, basically, where the entire pool industry collapsed, fell off the map. It like basically, between 2008 and 2009, almost no pools were built in Las Vegas, right? So like this entire industry collapsed, and we had a bunch of real estate that we lost in that process. So we ended up filing bankruptcy, and it was just like this crazy time, like a total economic meltdown.
You had to file personal bankruptcy?
We filed personal bankruptcy.
Yeah.
We ended up filing personal bankruptcy a couple years ago, but it was like to kind of clear up all those old, like past debts. And so like that was around that time. I ended up joining a business, kind of a startup business, where we were importing hardwood flooring. It was somebody I knew that I had done a real estate deal with in the past. I joined as an equity owner on this business where we were importing. We got a distributorship basically in the entire Midwest, and we started importing a bunch of hardwood flooring from China. And we started just basically scaling that up. So, we'd moved to Montana and spent a year trying to scale that up. And then kind of around that time, I realized like, this is not what I want to be doing in my life. I ended up exiting that business, and that's when we moved to Washington. And about a year after that, we started the business that we currently have in Washington. So
when did you move to Washington?
Late 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we ended up starting this business in 2011, basically.
And what's your current business?
So it's called Adrian's Housekeeping. My wife, Adrian. So I was actually pursuing a different type of business, more in the electrical, engineering field, which is what I had worked in before. And she was cleaning houses on the side. What I was doing with a partner, we were kind of got frozen a little bit with what I was pursuing. She was just getting a lot of referrals, what she was doing with cleaning. And so I was like, well, why don't I just step off and help? Like I could build a website. And right around that time, we found out she was pregnant. And so I was like, So we talked about it a lot, and the idea was either we need to like wind this down because this is not sustainable all the way through being pregnant and having a kid, or we go and hire some employees. And so that's where we started right then. We decided to go that route, built a website. I joined a local organization called BNI. We just started like pushing out there. And so I think our first year we did 50,000. And since then we've been just scaling up. I mean, we're currently a total headcount of 65. Last year we were just under 5 million revenue, about 900 recurring customers in Eastside, a local area.
Do you exclusively serve the East Side?
We partially acquired a company last year, over base that has a footprint in Seattle, but we have not really expanded into Seattle. That's kind of the next phase of our expansion.
Yeah.
We are very much like a family owned business with people that are deeply enmeshed in the community. And, there's a lot of companies out there that are hiring, just blasting, spending massive marketing budgets on just hiring independent contractors
Yeah.
that don't go through any vetting. And, they're just marketing companies that just happen to be in the house cleaning business. Whereas ours is very much like we have all of our people come into our office every day. We're holding constant meetings. We're holding constant trainings. There's a lot of hands-on touch from everybody in our company. So it's a totally different type of experience than what a lot of the companies that are out there. And so I feel like
That's important. You told me a little bit about the size of the business
Yeah.
today. Describe the services that you provide.
Yeah.
Ideal client for you.
Most of our clients right now are professionals like the Redmond, Kirkland, Bellevue, Sammamish area. We have a lot of customers who are, Microsoft or Amazon or Boeing type employees, right? We do almost exclusively house cleaning. We're like 98% residential. We send out teams and company in our uniforms, in our company vehicles, with our equipment and that kind of thing. And so the teams go in and, we kind of customize. Part of, I think, of how we've grown is we're very flexible on customizing what we do for the customer. And so we work with the customer to try and set a budget of time that we are there. And then we do that and then try and get them on the same regular rotation, try and pair them up with the right team. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
So practically, how does that work? We also have a house cleaner who comes.
Yeah.
So you set a budget of time.
Yeah.
As needs change, let's say I have someone coming in week to week.
Yeah.
Does what's accomplished change as well based on my changing needs?
Yeah. I would say most people have the similar things. Like pretty much everybody needs their bathrooms and their
Sure.
floors done, like kitchen, straightening up, that kind of thing. So there may be needs that change, which is like, I have guests coming in. I have a party I'm preparing for,
Right.
That kind of thing. But most of the things are pretty common. Our big thing is trying to track notes, for like people's preferences, for the preferences on like, I like my bed done this certain way,
Sure.
Every single person is different. So
Yeah.
a key part of us is like, we have a customer team, service team dedicated to tracking that. So we send out like reminder emails that we're going to be there or texts. Customers can opt in to have like text notifications when we're on the way or finished. We send out these one-click surveys where they can rate their cleaning. And all the way throughout that, we're collecting feedback from customers on anything they want to change. And then we try and make sure that's communicated really well to the teams that are doing it.
And if I'm your client, do I have the same cleaning staff week over week?
We try to do that, but it's really hard.
Sure.
If we were sending just one person and we were just pairing up one person with the customer, that's a lot easier because then that person, if you cancel for the day, like we just tell that person, oh, you don't have any work. We do it differently because we work in teams of 3. Sometimes we have a team leader, but then sometimes we have people that are sick. Like currently we have 3 of our team members who are pregnant. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there is natural shifting,
Sure.
And so our goal is to almost never will we cancel on somebody if we have somebody out sick. We have flexibility on being able to make sure that we're not like canceling or screwing up the expectation on service, but we do our best, but it's not a perfect science.
But if somebody arrives at my house and for whatever reason, it's not the team that I've
Yeah.
typically had, they have notes that tell them exactly what's
Exactly.
in the house and what things need to be cleaned.
Exactly.
Right.
It should be completely seamless because all that feedback we've gotten over all the years is documented, so when they pull up in the app and they before they go in the house, they sit there and review with the team about the priorities. And, and they all know what they're doing for the regular cleaning, but like it's getting the specialized stuff dialed in is the key thing.
Yeah. Before we continue, I want to tell you about the community that made this podcast possible. The Seattle chapter of EO, that's Entrepreneurs Organization. It's not networking, it's not selling to each other, it's real entrepreneurs sharing real challenges and solutions. If you have a business that does at least $1 million a year in revenue, and you're curious about joining a community that gets what you're going through, check out EOCF. So with your rate of growth, I would imagine your rate of client retention is very high as well.
Client retention is really high. Currently, right now, of our revenue, 90% of our revenue is recurring. But 10% of our revenue is new customers trying us out and that kind of thing.
So what does it look like if I'm interested and I want to try you out? How do I go about that?
I mean, we have a team that like puts together a quote. We don't send people out to go, do an estimate unless it's like something very special. But
Sure.
But typically we'll have a conversation and say, okay, what are your top priorities? Okay, so for this square foot size house, let's say your house is, I don't know, 2,000 square feet. We'd say, for this type of thing, this is what we would do. The team would typically be there for 3 hours or 4 hours, for depending on the size of the team, that kind of thing. So
Right.
we'd set like a certain amount of time. We'd give you a quote for the cost, and then we go out and do it. And then if for some reason, there was a whole section of the house that we did not anticipate, that we would call and say, hey, we need extra time. You know what I mean? So like, that's kind of how we figured for the first time.
Yeah.
Once people are on and they're on a regular service, it's a lot easier to, like it's pretty stable. Doesn't change very often.
Yeah. What brought you to EO and when did you join?
So I joined EO about 8 years ago. We were in this growth phase where I was looking for kind of more of a community. I had this experience I mentioned with BNI, and I think that's kind of what I was looking for. I really just found, I'd never heard of it before. I Googled like, business organizations. So I'd been in Chamber of Commerce, and, I know there's a bunch of different types.
Right.
I had a friend who was in Vistage, who was, they were talking to me about that. And so I just submitted a web form really on, and then somebody contacted me and, told me a lot about it. And so I showed up and had no idea what to expect. And honestly, like it was not quite what I was expecting when I first joined. I was kind of more expecting, I think, like a lead generation and, resources and people to meet in the community. And it just found totally unexpected from my first initial experience, not knowing anything going in.
What's been unexpected about it?
What I've realized with my time with EO is I am not in it for gaining clients. I actively don't push our name, out to the community. That's not really what it's been for me. It's been a huge amount of personal growth, personal development. I'm on my own like entrepreneurial journey, and I feel like I have this group, it's cliche with an EO, but like this tribe of people who are also, on that same journey. And so what I didn't expect is to fall right in and have like these really deep connections and deep friendships with all these other entrepreneurs who like share the same passion that, and same frustrations, and that kind of thing. So the forum experience is something I feel like is totally unique in like a lot of business type organizations where, you can be vulnerable, you can share your successes, and you have other people who are not like coaching you how to do it. It's just like shared experience. And that's been, I think, one of the most transformative things for me.
Yeah. Can you think of a time during your tenure in EO when EO has really come through for you, either a moment of crisis or a moment of triumph or something in between?
The one that was existential for us was COVID. With a house cleaning business, we were shut down. We thought we were going to be out of business. Within a span of 2 weeks, we lost like 70% of our recurring customers who just canceled flat out. We were shut down for several months. And, going through that experience with my forum specifically on like getting the PPP loans, resources for that, I like talking through what maybe next, like, what if this business disappears? Like, what next? And, like that internal reflection was like such a valuable experience. I think we would have kind of bounced around, trying to figure out our way without like a group that I could lean on,
Yeah, I agree. It's somehow pretty special. and life-changing to be able to say the terrifying thing out loud
Yeah.
in a room full of people who won't freak out.
And a room full of people who are not gonna judge you.
Right.
And the other thing that has been super valuable for me is like, I'm not somebody that does a lot of introspection where I sit there and like journal and stuff like that. But the act of having to sit down once a month and recall what the past month is like, and then dig deep and go to the 5% on like, these are the most impactful things, but not just like what happened, but like, what did that change about me? And, why was it significant to me is like this. I feel like I'm a lot more in contact with how I actually feel about things,
Mhm.
just in general, just doing that exercise regularly. And then having that experience with my forum and like pushing them, like, you know, so what did that actually mean to you? I'm hearing the story, but like, and then pushing them has been, and then having them push me has been like a really, part of that journey that's been really rewarding.
Yeah. So building on that, how would you say EO has changed you?
I'm pretty like an introverted type of person, naturally introverted. Like I can be
Kind of funny
extroverted.
that two introverts are sitting
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
here.
Yeah. And normally we would like, yeah, it's not like natural, right? And I think pushing me out of my comfort zone in that kind of thing, as far as building friendships, stepping up into leadership roles has really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. And I felt like that's translated so much into my leadership in my own company, with building teams. But then my experience with leadership is not just telling people, what to do. And that type of leadership in a group like your forum or in a group like the chapter is the same thing. Like nobody in EO, you're going to be like, hey, you need to go get this done. Why didn't you get this done? And as we've been leveling up our leadership team in our own company, I've noticed that same thing, has brought me along where you're not leading from, like I'm telling you, I'm the authority, you go do what I say. It's,
Right.
it's more like, how do I build the best team and how do I get the most out of them? And how can I support them to do, what they need to do? And so like, that's also been part of the journey is
Right.
like leadership development.
Yeah. It's been interesting and humbling for me to realize that building the best team, I mean, earlier in my entrepreneurial journey, I assumed the best team meant that I was intimately involved in all
Yes.
aspects of the company. It's humbling to realize, oh, the best team often doesn't include me.
Yeah. And actually, like I think an eye-opening thing for me that I've realized really in the last year
Yeah.
as we like because of EO, we've gotten into EOS. And so part of that is building out leadership team and leadership team structure. And I've realized like I'm the bottleneck in all these different things in my company and like recognizing that and like realizing that I'm like holding everybody else back because of my natural like almost controlling nature
Yeah.
is, another part of the like development path on leadership.
Yeah. So you were an entrepreneur for years before you joined EO. Uh, can you kind of reflect and contrast your experience as an entrepreneur before EO
Yeah.
and after joining EO?
I wish I had this resource when I was starting. Like I feel like I've made so many mistakes. I see a lot of the EOA grads are not making. Like a lot of these EOA grads are coming out with small companies with great ideas and they're already building leadership teams. And like so many things that I was involved in were just like bootstrapping and then just hiring people random as much as possible and figuring it out and like understanding what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I feel like I didn't develop that until after my experience in EO and being around other entrepreneurs and seeing how they build their businesses. A couple of people in my forum had been like just open my eyes on what true entrepreneurship is versus, maybe the scrappy startup founder,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. What do you want people to know about you?
I live and breathe entrepreneurship. I love it. I still read books, collect biographies on entrepreneurship, and I listen to podcasts and, stuff that are around that. Even though I'm in it, I still find it endlessly fascinating. And so I love being part of that, this community for that. Another thing that I've drawn on with all of this is travel. Like I feel like over the last 5 years, I've become an expert traveler,
Yeah.
and so I love traveling and having new experiences and sharing it with people I care about.
That's great. What is your average employee tenure?
for our industry, it's very low attrition. Most of the attrition that we have is from people who start in the first couple weeks and realize they can't really handle the job.
Oh,
But I think of our 60 people, I think like 53 of them have been with us for more than 2 years. So like we have some people that have been with us for 10 years, like, which is a long time for house cleaning
yeah.
industry. So like what we've tried to create with our people are actually careers, like they get benefits and 401k, like we have this budget where we do like personal development for them. And so like, we try to approach it where we're not just like cycling bodies through
Yeah.
and billable hours, but like careers on the field, for all our field people.
So in contrast, we can all think of other house cleaning services with
Yeah.
logos on cars driving around.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do they typically staff and how do they typically treat employees? Do they have
Yeah.
employees?
So the most profitable type of business in our industry are ones that don't have an office, they don't have company vehicles, they don't do laundry. The most profitable is where they hire somebody on Indeed and they give them a tutorial and they say, go buy your own supplies and then go out and do this job. And then we'll pay you 50% of the, whatever the cost is. That's like the most profitable way to do
It's
it.
more of a lead generation company.
It's a lead generation. That's 100% what it is. Lead generation. So they're constantly just marketing for employees and marketing for customers, and then they just kind of try and pair them together and collect the profit.
Right.
And that is not what we do. And there's a couple companies in our industry that are similar to us. It is a lot more expensive to have all the overhead, with the office.
Sure.
We have 2 offices, overhead management to work with the teams and the vehicles and cell phones and all that stuff. So it is more expensive, but I feel like the only way you can really control quality and develop like a loyal team that shows up every single day where they're not just going to go take another job because it pays $1 more per hour is by building that. So we really are, team first on like where our operations efforts are on that. There's a couple companies that do that, but because it's a very difficult business to make profitable, like a lot of people are going away from that. Our goal is to continue with this model. Like we would love to expand into Seattle and expand down south. Shout out for the EO thing. It is so valuable for people to have a community. Most people find community somewhere in, churches or gyms, their neighborhoods, that kind of thing. And this is a community just of entrepreneurs. Our paths may have never crossed in like any other way, right? And so like, and I value that. Like I love that part of it. And so I wish I had it when I was starting, when I had gone through my tumultuous journey of these other businesses. Who knows what would happen, but like, I love seeing all these new business owners joining EOA and coming up through that way, or people who are just like looking for, place to connect.
Yeah,
so
I do too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
This has been great.
Thank you.
Really appreciated the conversation.
Yeah. This is awesome.